Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's episode is one of the toughest I've put together. It took a lot of research because it's so important. Let's dive in. In the faded photograph, a shy, smiling boy gazes into the camera, a snapshot of innocence that belied the challenges ahead. This was Sebastian Kalinowski, his image lovingly shared on Facebook by his mother, Agnieszka Kalinowska, capturing a moment of unspoiled youth. A month later, on October 4th, Agnieszka announced plans to start anew in the United Kingdom with her son. A kind comment below the post simply read, "Good luck," a small spark of hope for a fresh beginning. Yet, within a year, the promise of a better life turned into a nightmare. In Huddersfield, the city that was meant to offer new opportunities instead became the setting for unthinkable hardships. Just 3 months after arriving in the UK, a relentless cycle of cruelty began. At home, instead of finding care and comfort, Sebastian was made to feel like nothing more than an unwelcome burden. Under the care of his mother, Agnieszka Kalinowska, and his stepfather, Andrzej Latoszewski, he endured harsh punishments that stripped away any semblance of safety. Hours were spent seated on a stool, facing a blank wall, his every movement meticulously monitored, even through an app that allowed his mother to keep an unblinking watch over him. The oppressive surveillance extended to every corner of his life. CCTV cameras, installed by Andrzej Latoszewski, silently recorded the unfolding abuse. One camera, positioned in Sebastian's bedroom, bore witness to a young life filled with quiet suffering. Another, set up in the living room, captured more than just the abuse. It revealed a disturbing contrast. There, Andrzej Latoszewski was seen, almost defiant in his self-assured pose before a mirror, while Agnieszka Kalinowska sat nearby, absorbed in her own activities, seemingly detached from the torment their son was enduring. As the abuse continued unabated, the weight of it all eventually overwhelmed Sebastian. On August 13, 2021, his frail body, already pushed beyond its limits, succumbed. In those critical final moments, a delay of 2.5 hours in seeking emergency help sealed his fate. By the time paramedics arrived, Sebastian had already been lost. At Huddersfield Royal Infirmary, the efforts to obscure the truth only deepened the mystery. Andrzej Latoszewski presented a narrative suggesting that Sebastian might have drowned in the bath. However, a perceptive police officer quickly noted the absence of water in the tub, beginning to unravel the deceit. Later, as authorities secured the house on Leeds Road, they uncovered a chilling piece of evidence: a hidden CCTV system deliberately disconnected during the crucial delay. The footage from these cameras captured every harrowing moment, documenting the cruelty, the malice, and the cold indifference with which Sebastian was treated. In one of the hospital rooms, as a nurse watched in disbelief, Andrzej Latoszewski's dismissive comment, reducing Sebastian's suffering to nothing more than a trivial incident, further underscored the depth of the neglect. After a 6-week trial at Leeds Crown Court, the verdict came swiftly, under 4 hours, and it was unequivocal: guilty of murder. Both Agnieszka Kalinowska and Andrzej Latoszewski now had to face the full weight of the law for their actions. Sebastian Kalinowski was only 15, a young life meant for love, care, and endless possibility. Instead, he became the victim of unspeakable cruelty. His story calls on all of us to remember, to honor his memory, and to ensure that his suffering never fades into silence. This is the tragic narrative of how Sebastian's promising life was stolen by those entrusted with his care, by his own family. Born on July 16, 2006, in Poland, to Agnieszka Kalinowska and his father, Sebastian spent much of his early years with his biological father. When he was just 4, his life took an unexpected turn. In 2010, Agnieszka left Poland for the United Kingdom with her then partner, seeking better opportunities, and Sebastian's world shifted with her departure. It was during this time that Agnieszka's path intersected once again with a figure from her past, Andrzej Latoszewski, a man she had known from childhood in Poland who had already built a life in the UK. Their relationship blossomed, and soon they were sharing a home, with Agnieszka leaving her previous partner behind to start anew with Andrzej. By October 2020, after nearly a decade apart, Agnieszka arranged for Sebastian to join her in the UK. The boy began attending North Huddersfield Trust School on Woodhouse Hall Road, a move that was meant to mark the beginning of a brighter chapter. Yet it would soon become the start of a devastating ordeal. At school, Sebastian was remembered fondly. Teachers and staff described him as a lovely boy, shy, quiet, and always polite. One pastoral manager affectionately called him Seba, recalling how he was smaller than his peers yet carried a positive, eager spirit toward learning. Often seen wandering alone at lunch with a gentle smile, Sebastian's demeanor masked a deeper sadness that few recognized. On New Year's Eve in 2020, a family friend met him and remarked on his quiet, reserved nature. A very good boy, slightly shy, perhaps even a little scared. A subtle detail emerged when her husband recalled hearing him refer to Andrzej simply as Mr. Andrzej, a small hint at the complex and ultimately tragic dynamics at home. Agnieszka Kalinowska, born in Poland in 1985, was widely seen as a devoted mother. A friend from her college days remembered her as utterly smitten with Sebastian when he arrived in the UK, delighted to have her son by her side. Yet, beneath that outward appearance, challenges began to surface. This same friend noted that Sebastian had started to skip school and stray from the truth, a stark departure from the glowing praises of his teachers and peers. And then there was Andrzej Latoszewski. Born on May 25, 1984 in Poland, he already had a 14-year-old son living back in Poland. Having come to the UK as a casual laborer, he made ends meet by renting out rooms, a path that led him to Agnieszka in 2010. Their relationship deepened rapidly, and by the time Sebastian's life was tragically cut short, they had been together for 11 years. Latoszewski was known as domineering, controlling, and short-tempered. A family friend testified that he often regarded Sebastian as an inconvenience, even remarking that the boy needed to show more respect to his mother. His wife confirmed this picture, explaining that he always spoke for Agnieszka, handling conversations and decisions as if she were merely an extension of his will. In her eyes, she rarely had the opportunity to speak for herself. Everything was dictated by him. This oppressive dynamic ultimately created an environment in which Sebastian was isolated, vulnerable, and trapped under the authority of those who should have protected him. By August 2021, the image of the shy, smiling boy once shared on Facebook had faded into a memory, overshadowed by a growing darkness. At school, subtle signs began to hint that all was not well at home. One teacher recalled an unsettling incident around Easter. During a meeting, Latoszewski became aggressively confrontational, insisting that Sebastian was dishonest, even claiming that the boy's own father had said the same. His behavior grew so intense that the teacher had to signal him to keep a respectful distance. This moment revealed how determined Latoszewski was to control the narrative surrounding Sebastian. It soon became clear that his approach to discipline, what he and Agnieszka called punishments, was far harsher than acceptable. Both later acknowledged that they had imposed severe measures on the child, though they maintained that these actions were intended as strict corrections. However, the evidence suggested a far graver reality. Sebastian's ordeal began on January 25, 2021, with intense interrogations captured on video from Latoszewski's phone. In the recording, his voice is laced with hostility as he questions Sebastian about his whereabouts, issuing degrading remarks and severe warnings, declaring that Sebastian would no longer be allowed certain privileges in their home. In this recording, one of the few with clear audio, Sebastian could only refer to his abuser as Mr. Andrzej, a poignant expression of fear and submission. That day, Sebastian's subsequent absence from school spoke volumes. In the following months, the severity of the discipline escalated. After Sebastian finished school for the summer on July 23rd, the measures became even more severe and dehumanizing. On August 10th, footage showed Latoszewski physically assaulting Sebastian in a manner that left him clearly distressed. Later that morning, the physical punishments continued, first with Latoszewski forcefully moving Sebastian, then with Agnieszka intervening in a way that added to the harsh treatment. The pattern of physical discipline left unmistakable marks of suffering on Sebastian. On the morning of his final day, this cycle of harsh punishment culminated in one last devastating act, an act in which both Agnieszka Kalinowska and Andrzej Latoszewski contributed. But the physical assaults were not the only form of cruelty Sebastian endured. He was also subjected to constant psychological torment. He was forced to perform grueling exercises, press-ups, sit-ups, and squats, as if they were meant to serve as intervals between severe punishments. For hours, he was ordered to sit on a stool facing his wardrobe, isolated and motionless, while his abusers hurled mocking remarks at him. In one clip, Latoshevsky could be seen making mocking gestures with his leg as he ridiculed Sebastian, while Agnieszka reenacted a similar harsh treatment, sharing a laugh with him as if it were a twisted game. In another video, Agnieszka was captured smiling at Latoshevsky just moments before he resumed his physical reprimands. Sebastian's suffering was constant and unrelenting. On July 4th, footage showed Latoshevsky striking him with a piece of furniture before ordering him to complete a set of push-ups. Less than a month later, on August 1st, additional footage revealed a series of repeated strikes that left Sebastian visibly unsteady on his feet. In one particularly disturbing sequence, the physical punishments would pause for Sebastian to perform a set of exercises, only to resume with further blows delivered in rapid succession. When questioned in court, Latoshevsky attempted to justify these measures by claiming they were necessary to correct what he described as Sebastian's behavioral problems. He accused the boy of dishonesty and manipulative behavior, insisting that the strict discipline was his way of enforcing respect and order. However, the evidence painted a different picture. Sebastian was not a manipulator or a liar. He was a child caught in a cycle of harsh and unyielding punishment. In his testimony, Latoshevsky spoke of months of problems and said that his actions were part of a misguided strategy to make him listen, describing Sebastian as a difficult child who needed his strict methods. Agnieszka, for her part, attributed her actions to fear. She testified that she had felt overwhelmed and intimidated by Latoshevsky's behavior, explaining that when it came to disciplining Sebastian, she felt she had no choice but to present him with a false dichotomy: either perform the strenuous exercises or endure the physical punishment. In her words, she believed that a light tap on the head was a normal disciplinary measure, a view she later reconsidered when she had a moment of quiet reflection. Further complicating the matter were the text messages exchanged between Agnieszka and Latoshevsky. These messages, later presented in court, revealed plans and justifications for their severe disciplinary measures. In one message, Agnieszka used harsh language to refer to Sebastian, and she urged Latoshevsky to intensify his punishments upon his return home. They even discussed using methods that would leave fewer visible marks, apparently in an effort to avoid drawing attention from the school. In one particularly chilling text, Latoshevsky wrote something along the lines of, "Cold water is waiting for him," while Agnieszka later remarked that she had ceased one form of punishment because he was not managing. The tone of these exchanges suggested that the suffering of a young boy had, in their eyes, become a controllable and escalating process, a dynamic that would ultimately prove to be devastating. August 13th, 2021, marked Sebastian's final day, a day that began in a manner disturbingly similar to so many before it. Early that morning, CCTV footage captured moments of aggressive handling as both Latoshevsky and Kalinowski were seen interacting with Sebastian. At approximately 8:26 a.m., Latoshevsky was observed moving Sebastian out of his bedroom. By 8:41 a.m., Kalinowski had arranged a duvet on the floor. Shortly after, the camera recorded Latoshevsky carrying Sebastian again, this time with the boy unresponsive and damp. He placed Sebastian on the duvet and was seen checking his chest and attempting resuscitation. Meanwhile, Kalinowski proceeded downstairs. The footage shows her closing the blinds and later peering out of the window, as if keeping watch. At 9:26 a.m., Latoshevsky is seen pouring water into Sebastian's mouth. Soon after this moment, the bedroom camera was turned off. Despite these alarming scenes, there was a significant delay in summoning help. It wasn't until just before 11 a.m. that Latoshevsky made a phone call to his employer at Yoke Burger, mentioning he would not be coming in due to big problems. Only after this call did the couple finally contact emergency services. When paramedics arrived at 301 Leeds Road, they found Sebastian unresponsive. Although earlier footage showed him without clothes, by the time help arrived, both Sebastian and Latasevsky were dressed. A paramedic noted a bruise on Sebastian's chest while attempting resuscitation. Sebastian was rushed to Huddersfield Royal Infirmary, but tragically, he was pronounced dead upon arrival. Shortly thereafter, both Kalinowski and Latasevsky were arrested. The combination of CCTV evidence, text messages, and witness testimonies revealed a campaign of abuse that had tragically taken a young life. Throughout the trial, the jury learned about the home's CCTV system at 301 Leeds Road, a system that became central to uncovering the truth about Sebastian's final hours. Latasevsky claimed he had installed the cameras following a burglary at a previous residence, while Kalinowski explained that the system, along with a recording app on her phone, had been used as a means of control. However, the landlord contradicted their accounts, stating that the CCTV system had not been in place before the couple moved in. Instead, the jury heard how the system had inadvertently captured evidence of the severe treatment that led to Sebastian's death. Notably, the cameras were switched off at 9:26 a.m. on that fateful day. Latasevsky attempted to justify this by expressing concern that a poorly secured camera might cause injury, and he also mentioned not wanting to record other activities in the living room. Nothing, however, could obscure the tragic reality. The court was informed of a 2.5-hour delay between the moment Sebastian lost consciousness and the call for emergency services. During this period, Latasevsky claimed he performed CPR, changed their clothing, and disconnected the CCTV system. The emergency call, made just before 11 a.m., captured Latasevsky's desperate and repeated appeals for Sebastian to regain consciousness, a series of urgent pleas that underscored the gravity of the situation. Medical evidence presented in court painted a deeply troubling picture of Sebastian's condition. Dr. Michael Parsons, the Home Office pathologist who conducted the post-mortem, reported that Sebastian had sustained 81 separate injuries, including 23 rib fractures. These injuries had become infected, leading to sepsis and ultimately causing his organs to shut down. An examination of Sebastian's rib injuries, carried out by Professor Mangum, revealed a timeline of harm that spanned several weeks. 5 of the fractures were estimated to be between 2 and 4 days old, 1 between 4 and 8 days old, 16 between 1 and 2 weeks old, and 1 as old as 5 to 12 weeks, an indication of prolonged mistreatment. Dr. Parsons, during the post-mortem, observed clear signs of infection at the injury sites, including small pockets of pus. The bruises, abrasions, and defensive wounds across Sebastian's body spoke of months of recurring pain. There were notable marks on his back, along with several injuries on his lower back and buttocks, each suggesting repeated impacts. He further explained that some of the damage resembled injuries typically seen in serious accidents, with overlapping scabs and areas where the tissue had been severely stressed. Dr. Mohammed Rahman described how the progression of sepsis, marked by high fever, labored breathing, and eventual loss of consciousness, likely set in. He testified that prompt medical treatment might have prevented the tragic outcome. Instead of seeking immediate help, Kalinowski and Latasevsky provided alternative explanations for the injuries. In his police interview, Latasevsky claimed that Sebastian had drowned in the bath. According to his account, he had discovered Sebastian in the bathroom and, upon finding him unresponsive, had begun resuscitation. He also suggested that the bruises could have resulted from other incidents, a fall or an earlier altercation, for instance. Kalinowski initially stated that she had been downstairs when Sebastian went to bathe, and upon realizing he had not returned, went upstairs to find him unconscious in the tub. Later, however, when asked for more details, she offered little beyond acknowledging that Latasevsky had struck Sebastian on at least one occasion in the weeks before his death. The trial commenced on Monday, June 13, 2022, at Leeds Crown Court under the oversight of the Honorable Mrs. Justice Lambert. Prosecutor Jason Pitter QC opened the case with a solemn reminder of the gravity of Sebastian's final moments. A young boy, not yet 15, whose last day was marred by a series of neglectful and abusive acts in a place that should have been his sanctuary. The prosecution's narrative was clear. The care Sebastian received was not one of nurturing protection, but was characterized by actions that compounded his vulnerability over time. Testimonies from medical experts, police officers, school staff, friends, and even statements from Kalinowski and Ladoszewski themselves all contributed to a detailed account of a systematic pattern of abuse that ultimately claimed his life. Over the course of 6 weeks, the jury was presented with overwhelming evidence, a mosaic of recorded footage, medical findings, and personal testimonies that left little doubt about the severity of the mistreatment Sebastian endured. The Honorable Mrs. Justice Lambert addressed the jury with a heartfelt acknowledgement of the immense burden they had carried throughout the trial. "You have been confronted with harrowing images of Sebastian Kalinowski in profound distress and ultimately in death," she said. "Your service has been exemplary under the most challenging circumstances. I extend my sincere gratitude for your dedication and patience. On behalf of the justice system, thank you." In an unprecedented gesture, Justice Lambert relieved the jurors from any future jury duty, adding, "Your involvement in this case has exceeded all expectations, and I hereby discharge you from future jury service." As the verdict was announced, the courtroom bore witness to a stark contrast in the reactions of the defendants. Agnieszka Kalinowska broke down in uncontrollable sobs, clinging to the dock's wall as she was led away, while Andrzej Ladoszewski sat silently, his head bowed, avoiding any contact with those around him. Though the trial had ended, the memory of Sebastian Kalinowski's suffering would linger in the hearts and minds of all who had heard his story. Agnieszka Kalinowska and Andrzej Ladoszewski were sentenced to life in prison for the brutal murder of 15-year-old Sebastian Kalinowski, with the court ruling that neither would be eligible for parole for at least 39 years. Sebastian's story serves as a solemn reminder of the profound responsibility we all share to protect the most vulnerable among us, especially our children. It calls upon us to remain vigilant and to never ignore the silent signals of distress that may be hidden in everyday life. Each act of kindness, each moment of watchfulness, and every courageous step taken to report signs of abuse can mean the difference between a life saved and a life lost. This is not only a duty, but a demonstration of our collective humanity. Though Sebastian's life was tragically shortened, his memory inspires us to strive for a kinder, more compassionate world, a world where every child is embraced with love, care, and hope. Let his story empower us to speak out when something feels amiss and to stand up for those who cannot protect themselves. Together, by acting with compassion and unity, we can help create a future where no child endures suffering in silence, where every child experiences the security and warmth they so rightfully deserve. Thanks so much for watching this episode. I truly appreciate you taking the time to dive into this story with me. Putting together this episode took countless hours of research and was emotionally tough, but it was absolutely worth it to shed light on such an important issue. If you found this video meaningful, please hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to share it with your friends and family. Spreading awareness can really make a difference. Thanks again for being here, and I'll catch you in the next one.